Hey everyone, my name is Steve Friedler, and this is my English 231 final. This course has been a real challenge for me, and this project was no different considering none of the material is really in my ballpark. Regardless, I was excited to challenge myself and see how I could do. This project was exciting to me because it took me out of my comfort zone. It also gave me the opportunity to express some of my opinions and point of views through words I singled out of the Her article we were directed to use, and the drawings I chose to create while making my slides. The medium I chose to use in order to create this slide and every other slide, other than one, was writing utensils, specifically colored pencils and markers. Seeing as I was using these items to effectively create my drawings and slides as a whole, they were an extension of myself, making me a cyborg. The hypertext reads, "Falling in love, the romantic connection, physical love, it matters." These pretty much have one linear reading path going up and down. I decided to highlight the hypertext using red hearts in order to effectively direct the reader's/user's attention to it. I was trying to indicate that love is the most important thing we have in life. It gets us through the good and bad times. Yet, the black background is just as important. I use Miss and Seen with the black background because it is meant to indicate that without the bright, warm feeling of love, life can be dark, like a barren wasteland. In the second treated text I used, the medium was digital technology. The hypertext reads, "Don't fall in love with protagonist. He's a lonely man or woman." This, like most of the slides in this project, has arithmetic qualities because of its tree-like structure. It also has a non-linear reading path because it could be read in several ways. For example, the user can read, "Like woman," or "He's a lonely protagonist, don't fall in love." Regardless, both paths lead to the same conclusion. The background is black and white because it is meant to represent a prison uniform. The reason I decided to use this representation is because I believe often we find ourselves falling in love with the wrong person, perhaps a person who is a protagonist, and we are prisoners of our own emotions, unable to escape the individual. On this slide, we read, "Blaming his troubles on technological seduction rather than he." Now this is probably was my worst drawing in the entire presentation, and I apologize for that. I'm not much of an artist, and honestly, this is probably my first time picking up a colored pencil or marker in 5 years. Regardless, this is probably my favorite slide to do. First off, there's no linear reading path. This allows the user to interpret the hypertext however they choose. If they choose to read it the way I did, the reader will assume he's blaming the way, the scale, pace, and pattern of his life on technology, rather than taking responsibility for how these things turned out. If he doesn't take responsibility, he will never be able to improve the scale, pace, and pattern of his life, because he is looking to blame anything or anyone but himself. On the other hand, if the user reads it in a diagonal fashion, it reads, "Blaming his troubles on he rather than technological seduction." Now, he's taking ownership of why the scale, pace, and pattern of his life is the way it is. This will allow him to reflect on his life and improve these things. The yellow lines are meant to represent a crosswalk determining which side of these arguments he will choose. The blue arrows represent the path to improvement, and the red the path to denial. This page was inspired by the medium as the message. The medium of digital and film technology has completely altered the way many of us within the global village view and go about life. Society now depicts that we should model our lives and act like they do in film and movies. Unfortunately, if we don't, others may find it socially incorrect. Also, it is nearly impossible to live life as they do in fictional film. They call it fiction for a reason. If we do try to do so, it'll almost always end in disappointment. The purpose of this slide is to encourage the reader to take control of their own scale, pace, and pattern, similar to the last. It's also hard to do so in a drawing, but I attempted to use low-key lighting here, trying to make strong contrast between the brightest and darkest parts of the image. The three bright lights at the top are representing how we think modeling our lives after the types of media will improve quality of life. They are cut off by dark gray color, representing that it's almost impossible and we shouldn't be overly influenced by the medium, film, which is represented by the camera, as seen here. The last two treated pages play off each other. They both have linear reading paths, but have two extremely different messages. The first one reads, "His interests don't go beyond himself," she complains. "His attentions offer selfish desires." This depicts a woman who is in a destructive relationship. The red and black colors are meant to represent the hurt and torment that another individual is causing her. On the other hand, this page reads, "Appealing people are pure, bumping the limits of imagination." The linear reading path of the hypertext is meant to show how positive people can greatly impact those around them in a good way. The bright colors are meant to represent this positive vibe. As you can see, as mentioned before, these images play well off each other, even though they have completely opposite messages.